Niko Moreno. Niko, my friend, welcome to Thursdays. And cup number 1 or cup number 2?
Good morning, John. Cup number 1, and you can tell that by me trying to get into this stream and having a bunch of issues, but we are here, ready to go. Cup number 1, almost done. So it's going to be cup number 2 in the next 5 to 10 minutes after I'm done with you guys. But excited to be on. Lots to talk about. We had Gold Cup, MLS. We got firings of coaches who we kind of guessed that they could have been gone. I don't really think so. So lots to talk about. Atlanta got a bunch of messages from your fan base. Thank you so much. Asking what's going on, hot seats, not hot seats. So, lots to talk about here.
All right, so let's go hot seats, not hot seats. Since folks on this end of the Mississippi River are reaching out to you, what are they asking you about? What do they want to know about from you, sir?
Maybe 3 out of the 5 messages were all seriously concerned whether or not Gonzalo Pineda should start to be looked at, if that seat should start to get really, really hot because of how inconsistent the team has been, because you don't really know what you're going to get. And then a few of those were already asking for other options. What else could Atlanta do? How quickly should they do it? Would that affect the team that, honestly, it's in a good position to still make the playoffs? The transfer windows around. So what I consistently said was the following. I don't think the results have been consistently bad. The team has been consistently inconsistent, and I get that. That's so hard to understand, and sometimes it's even harder to fix when you don't really know what it is that you're trying to fix. I would say that defensively, this team is just so vulnerable at times. I'm starting to question a lot of players, and that's the thing. I mean, it's not just the coach; it is the players. Look, Ibarra is a player that I thought was going to be very good in this league, that I thought was going to have an outstanding career in MLS. But man, I'm starting to really have it difficult to just excuse some of the performances. But in this one, sometimes just it seems like there's a little bit of lazy play. It's not just the bad plays, but it's just lazy play in terms of coming back, tracking back, being on the ball. I mean, those 4 goals against a New York City team that was the lowest scoring team in the league is just hard to swallow. I mean, there's just no way that could really happen, right? So,
all right. So I'll call. So I'll call my timeout. I'll use my first timeout of the segment.
All right.
All right. So the first 2, we talked about it this week. Yes, I understand that they were defensive lapses. I get that. You cannot switch off against Red Bulls. 3 and 4 goals. 3 and 4 were off of deflections as you were chasing the game. At that point, when you're down 2-0 against Red Bulls, I don't care. And the result's going to be the result. You're chasing after that first goal. You're either going to lose by 2 or you're going to lose by however many because you're chasing the match. So the end result to me does not matter. Goals 3 and 4, I kind of put off to the side because you're chasing a game, it's deflections, and you're over here. The first 2 are the ones that I would be concerned about just because, once again, against Red Bulls, you cannot switch off. They want to do the quick throw. They want to try to catch you on your heels. They want to catch you while you're trying to catch your breath. Those are the things that I would be more concerned about than goals 3 or 4. I know everybody looks at 3 at a 4-0 result and goes, oh, Red Bull scored 4. I would say focus on the first 2, not necessarily the second 2.
100%. And you're just absolutely right. And the first one's the most concerning, right? Off of a throw-in, over the top of your head. That ball bounces twice in the 18 before you put it away. And there's just no help on the defender, right? I think it's Goodman. That's the one that gets the ball over his head. So in all general senses, it is concerning. I think that it's reasonable to start to question some of Pineda's tactics, but I still believe that this team is in a good position, that the best way to get success this season and continue to build that momentum, it is with leaving Gonzalo Pineda, but he needs to start thinking about what it is that's not going through because I know that he's someone that is studying it, that is training on it, that is trying to make it right. But why is it not reflected on the field? Whether it's personnel, whether it's some personnel, whether it's some of the things he's doing. But there's got to be a change with Gonzalo because he is too smart, too intelligent, too much of an X's and O's guy. And this team has too much quality to be this inconsistent. So there's got to be a change. In conclusion, I don't think that his seat is red hot, but I think it's starting to get warm, and he's going to have to start showing some results or at least some consistency with performances. I have trust that it will happen. I have trust that he's going to fix it, but I understand the concern.
And at the same time, this is also Garth Lagerwey's first transfer window when it comes to being on the business side of things, and he has said that we've always mentioned that you're going to have to rip the Band-Aid off. You're going to have pain before you're going to be able to get the plan in place that he's looking for from that business side of things to make sure that the soccer side will function and have that life force of its own. So I think that this transfer window coming up also will be another telling sign as to what they're looking for, who they're looking for to fill in spots and spaces and things like that. I think that this first transfer window is also something you got to keep an eye on too.
100%. And that's all part of the process, right? That's part of some of the things that you could say, hey, the route, the direction of Gonzalo Pineda's process has had many changes, many ups and downs from the point of him when he got to Atlanta, the time that he had to start putting his plan together, then directional changes above, all which I think are on the right route, right? Because we all know that successful career that Garth has had, but it's all part of the process. So I'd say there's been a lot of shifting. Let's give it some time to see where it's going to be at. And then still look at the results that you've had accomplished. Look at where you are in the standings and just kind of think about that it's not easy sometimes to at least win some of those games and keep your team afloat regardless of what's going on. And we also know how different this team is when Robinson is in, when Robinson is out. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go around it. You're trying to change certain things. Gigi is obviously a piece that's going to be consistently good, and he just got there. So I think if we let this marinate a little bit, it's going to have some really good flavor at the end.
All right. So what else has been on your mind from the week that was? Oh, we haven't talked about Bob, have we?
We have not talked about Bob.
All right. So Bob was finally shown the door, something we talked about a lot.
We did.
And Bill Manning came on. I've got to get the Bill Manning quote because Bill Manning had what was the Bill Manning quote that everybody was sitting there going, oh, Bill Manning, what are you saying? It's like not concerned about style of play. Folks just want to win. I think that was what Bill Manning said yesterday.
Yeah, well, while you look for that, man, I'll just let you know right now that we talked about who was going to go. Was it the Italians? Was it Bob? And I told you that if you were a serious organization, franchise, you were allowed Bob to not be casted out and put on the spotlight by the players and pushed out in some way. And that's what ended up happening, right? I mean, I get that there was a broken locker room, and that's part of the manager, right? You cannot have that much things coming out into the open, little groups here and there that are going against each other. Your son, right, Bradley, kind of being casted out by everybody because that's your son and all of these things. So what Michael Bradley's role is with the locker room. So there was a lot of things that perhaps Bob could have done differently. But he came into a boat with some foundational problems, right? I mean, you heard me talk here about talking about Garth. I remember he told me one time, when you miss on a DP, it's like missing on a first-round draft pick. And Toronto has missed on some huge DPs, right? Soldado, then they sold those Salcedo, like the greatest thing since, Coca-Cola. I mean, all of these things that just weren't really there, and an old roster. So I think Bob had a lot of things to deal with. So all in all, I just think that Bob leaving is just a scapegoat, and this franchise still has some huge problems, and it all starts up top. It doesn't matter what's going on, who's going to be leading this team. Toronto, quite honestly, won't get any better for a couple of years if they don't change things up top. And you can quote me on this. It's just something that, regardless of who comes in, Pep Guardiola will come in and take care of this team and won't fix certain things because he won't have the ability to have impact in so many components of what needs to be a winning team.
And Pep would end up at CFG and be at NYC with the big condo at Central Park West, I think, if he comes to the States. I found my Bill Manning quote. Left no doubt how he feels about Insigne and Bernadeschi's contributions. We do expect them to help lead this team to victory. Article from Waking the Red. Does Manning care how exactly the team get back to winning ways? No. Quote, I want to win. No one remembers how you play. I don't want to describe a style of play. What is that?
That's just someone who doesn't quite know soccer, man, and is just trying to say, I'll win in any way, but he doesn't understand that there's a process to winning. And it's not about possession soccer or tiki-taka or we're going to be offensive or defensive. It's not about that. It's about having a style of play. So he clearly doesn't know what he's trying to get at. I just feel like that is someone who wants to show that there's changes coming up, and I have no idea what that plan is. He's basically opening up the umbrella and saying, it doesn't matter who comes in here. I really don't know what I want to do. All I know is that everybody's upset, so I'm going to get rid of Bob, and we're going to figure it out here and now. But there is literally no plan at all by this franchise.
And it's going to be interesting to see how things lay out with Toronto FC. All right, since we're at that point, Niko Moreno at El Rolo NW, at Sports Pulso, and at the Soccer Bar. It's time for red light, yellow light, green light, something we've done all morning long with all of our guests. We've done it with the men's national team. We've done it with the USL Championship. Now it's time to do it with you, my friend, when it comes to Major League Soccer. Are we starting with the red light going down, or are we starting with the green light going up?
Let's start with the red light on this one, yeah.
All right, so who's your red light this week?
My red light, and look, this red light, green light, yellow light is going to have some teams that are literally just getting into this group because I just got to do it. And I got to put them in. You might be surprised at my yellow team. But in terms of my red, I'm going to put New York City FC.
Okay.
They come from a draw, but it was a draw that I thought Portland dominated in many instances. I thought Portland was the better team all around. But New York City is a team that has one or two players that are being pretty consistent on a day-to-day basis. Pereira being one of those players, Santi Rodriguez, one of those players. But the rest of the team just has a real difficult time doing the basic stuff. And when the basic stuff is hard to do, results are hard to come by. And it just seems to be a little bit of a misconnection between the players on the field and what you're trying to get at from the manager's standpoint. They have not won a game in 11 in a row or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's just concerning for a team in this category. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and place them in the red light group. I just think that there needs to be a lot of changes, maybe even formationally wise, for this team to be successful. But this Portland game was pretty telling because Portland was dealing with some things of their own, and I thought they dominated completely. So New York City FC, no ability to win games, a little bit of a lack of identity. I think that there's some talent issues in the back end for this team, meaning the defensive line. So because of that, they're going to be my red light team.
All right. Yellow light, traditionally, it's trending in either direction. You can trend from yellow, from red, go yellow toward green, or you can trend from green, be yellow, and be trending toward red. What's your yellow light this week?
My yellow light is the Seattle Sounders.
Oh,
I have just dropped them from green to yellow, and they're like right at the line, right? It's right in between. But the team's starting to struggle to score, and that's obviously no secret here. But what's really concerning is that there are some depth issues that they needed to fix. Right wing is a position that I feel like they're really short on. And anytime that Christian Roldan is not with the team, he just drops in quality, and it drops offensively, defensively, and not being able to have someone on that end that could provide you with something different. It's really concerning. The young kids, despite of how promising they are, Reed Baker, Cody Baker, Dobler, Ovid Vargas. Yes, they're great to have, but I think that the depth is starting to really get questioned because when Brian Spencer is trying to make a change, I don't really see at this point in time, maybe it's because of the injuries, right? Because they have a lot of injuries, but there are no game changers off the bench. And that's really making it difficult for Brian to bring in a guy that's going to either help you win a game or help you draw a game because of that lack of depth. So going back to the need at right wing, Javier Arriaga is now out up to 10 weeks. Javier Arriaga was a bench player, but he was your bargaining chip, your biggest bargaining chip in this transfer window for you to be able to ship him out and bring something that you really needed. That's now gone. I mean, there had been offers, there had been inquiries on him, and there was a real potential that he could go in this transfer window. By Javier Arriaga being out this long, it means that that's over, that's done with, and that's concerning for the team in terms of depth. So I'm going to put him in the yellow because I think that Brian Smetzer is going to have to really figure out how to get the best out of some of these young players, and he's going to really have to tell this group, what are you prepared to do? And really, really get them going because the talent is there, and now you just got to shift it and figure out how you can create depth in different ways, right? So Christian Roldan, Jordan Morris, they're going to be gone. So the biggest depth problems are going to be at the wing issue, the wing play. So what are you going to be able to shift and do? Because they've been playing with Niko outright, and it's worked at times, but he gravitates inside way too long, way too much. He likes there. And honestly, I like him at the 10, right? Rusnak, yes, he does a lot of great things at the 10 as well, but I just feel like they occupy the exact same spaces. So whether it's moving Rusnak out right or dropping him a line and having one of the young guys play out wide, I think changes need to come for this team to really get it going while Christian and Jordan come back. But the lack of depth is the reason why I'm going to put him in the yellow for right now, from green to yellow.
Can you chase anything in the transfer window, or are you up against it when it comes to salary numbers?
You're up against the salary cap. I really think that there's no chance that Seattle's going to bring anybody, and the fan base is going to go crazy when they hear this. Maybe they already know it, especially some that follow it pretty closely. But I think it's pretty likely that Seattle will not make a move in the transfer window because they're against the salary cap space, because they haven't been able to really move anybody. So it's a tough position for the front office, a tough position for Brian Smetzer. The good thing, though, is that when the best starting 11 is in there for Seattle, they can compete against anybody. But can they have that? Can they be healthy enough? Jordan Morris with the national team right now is getting some treatment in the knee, right? He's being looked at. He's being careful with. So it's just things that a club like Seattle needs to start to look at, and looking at those young guys and say, hey, man, the time to develop and grow is kind of really tight. You're going to have to start showing me some good stuff. So I'm really going to be looking this week, how much better can Cody Baker be? Not just defensively, but offensively. I think that's the one thing that he hasn't been able to do. Can Reed Baker Whiting as well do a little bit more for this team? But that high quality play needs to be there from everybody for Seattle to be successful.
When you look at, and this is so off the grid, this is an MLS Next Pro question. When you look at what you're seeing at Starfire, last time out, late game on the weekend here on the on the East Coast. It was a 1-0 win against Austin FC2. Is there anyone that can help out who is on the farm currently that could be another young guy that could aid in this process? Since you say you're up against it, you've got young guys there already. Is there anyone from Defiance that could take that next step and help things out?
I don't think right now there is anybody at the winger position that could be that difference maker. I really don't. I think that there's some depth pieces at center back, which is a good thing. Now that Javi's out, and I think ABC Soko, I'm not sure if the coaching staff is as confident in him as you think they could be. So there could be concerns there. So yes, I think that there are pieces defensively, central midfield as well. There's some very good players, but at winger, no. And that's where you need the help. There's no one that in this Tacoma Defiance, in my opinion, can come into an MLS game and beat a player off the dribble, create some one-on-one problems for defenses, stretch out defenses, give you something different, because Leo Chu does some of that on the left side, but right now with so many pieces missing, he's not coming off the bench anymore, and when he does start, there's no one to replace him off the bench. So because of that, Tacoma Defiance, yes, they have some very good players, and there's actually some very good players at the MLS Next Pro and just some younger players in the academy that have been outstanding. But at the end of the day, for you to make a difference immediately for this squad, you got to have a certain level of play, and I just don't see it right now.
Green light this week, who is it?
Green light, yeah. So, man, green light, it's interesting how we've been playing it around, and there's teams that are at top of the table that should be the easy buckets, but we've talked about absolutely all of them. The top teams in both Eastern Conference and Western Conference are always the same. And I know I've talked about this team before, and they're not in the top of the table. But the Columbus Crew, for me, against Nashville, just proved to you that in the playoffs, they're going to be the hardest team to beat, man, because they have goals in the back of their pocket at any single moment. And against Nashville, they completely frustrated, minimized, limited, put Hani Mukhtar in a box and did not let him out. So when you have good coaching and you have a very versatile midfield, and in this one, they had Moreira playing at center back, and Gasillo came out from the bench. I mean, the things that are being done with this Columbus team, man, they're just so surprising because it's not the regular play. It's not just focusing on, hey, I got this talented group up top with Christian Ramirez, with Lucas Arian, with Cucho, but it's the collective play of this team is unbelievable. And it doesn't matter who plays where, everybody just seems to be dancing in the same rhythm, and it's beautiful to watch. And I've said it before, and I'm not going to say it again, but this is the team that I watch day in, day out, week in, week out. Anytime that I get a chance to watch them. But against Nashville, that 2-0 win was solid. And I mean, it seemed like they were always in control. Even when Nashville got around to being dangerous and getting forward, it just seemed like Columbus knew that it was coming, and they were just able to close down spaces, and they would play a little bit deep, and then they would at times select when they wanted to press higher. I mean, it was just such a good performance that Columbus at number 5 and the 5th position in the East, for me, they deserve the green light, no doubt about it.
All right, two more topics before you go. One, yesterday was the announcement that we knew was coming, and now it's just closer, but it's now officially closer. Tata Martino is going to be on the touchline. He's bringing some of the familiar faces with him to be there at Intermessi FC. Tata is inheriting a team that's got a lot of work to do. You're bringing in Messi. You're bringing in Busquets is what it looks like. You've got to wonder who the third man is, because you figure you're going to buy Gregory down. You're going to get rid of Campagna. You're going to get rid of Pizarro. That'll open up 1, 2, and 3 for you. Tata Martino to Intermessi FC or CF. What do you think?
I think it's fantastic. And I mean, I think it was a long time coming, worst kept secret in MLS to a certain extent. This guy just knows how to do it. He's I think he could be the best coach in the region in general in CONCACAF. And he always seems to have the right answers. Now, am I going to say that Tata's going to come in and make this a playoff team? No, I really don't think that Inter Miami is going to be able to do that. Kind of looking at the components that are there now and the fact that now Negri is out for the season. That's just another player that's a key component of yours that's out for the season. And by the time your superstars come in, if you will, you're going to have 12 to 11 games to really make those points up. And I just don't think is reasonable. I don't think it's possible. But Tata Martino in general, man, I think that he changes your franchise in all aspects because it gives you that veteran voice. It gives you someone that's respected in the entire continent. It's a coach that's also a scout. And that he could pick up the phone and call someone who he's been watching for the last 6 months that you have no idea who they are, and they're immediately going to want to come and play for you, right? Has a good rapport with every single player that I've ever heard of. He's someone that is an X's and O guy, but can also be a motivational guy. So I just think he's a very balanced, extremely experienced and successful coach. So I think it's a no-brainer. And it also gives the fan base and the players not the need of winning now. I mean, when Tata is sitting in the bench, you're like, you know what? We're going to start the process from here on out, but we know that the future is bright because that's what he does. He knows how to build teams. He knows how to get it right. He's not going to be, obviously, a magician and change it right now, but he's going to give every single player the trust that this franchise is going in the right direction. And it's something that they haven't had since they got in MLS. Ever since Inter Miami got in MLS, there hasn't been a coach that got on and gave everybody the trust that they were going to be in the right hands. Now with Neville, now with Alonso, now they have that guy that for me is a game changer for this franchise in general.
All right, and since you mentioned CONCACAF, what have you seen in Gold Cup so far with the matches? We're 2 matches through most of the group stage for some. Is El Tree back? Are they back with a 4-0 win? Is El Tree back?
Gold Cup's been interesting. I think if there's been one conclusion is something that Roman Torres mentioned to us in that interview that I hope some of your audience went and checked out at PulsoSports. But he just said, CONCACAF right now, it seems like everybody's moved up in levels, whether it's, the island teams, Haiti, Jamaica, right, Canada. Everybody's kind of a step ahead. And maybe Mexico has kind of fallen asleep a little bit, and they've had some issues at staying consistently better. So they're no longer the giant in the conference. And that's what I kind of see some of these games, right? The draw with Canada that everybody was kind of like amazed about. And yes, of course, it's a huge deal. But at the end of the day, it just kind of shows you where the league is at in terms of, the conference, right? In terms of L3, they're the one team with Jamaica that has their best squad in here. It was no secret that the United States is checking some of these guys out. That this could be their B team, right, if you will. I don't know if I call it the C team like a lot of people are calling it, but, BC, whatever, right? You have a lot of players that you're trying to see, that you're trying to watch. El Tree goes and beats down on Honduras, a very bad Honduras team. They gave off them all kinds of easy goals. But at the end of the day, I just don't think that they're back. I just think that they're desperate. So they're putting all their eggs in one basket and is making sure that they win this Gold Cup. But that could be a two-edged sword because if with this team, their best team by far, even though they might be missing 1 or 2 pieces, this is the Mexico national team with their new hero at hand because now Lozada has been the guy that's going to make it all right. And, we got rid of the dead weight with Coca, and he's this young, talented coach. If they don't win it and they get some bad results, I'm not sure what's going to happen to the Mexican Federation, man. If they get bounced out of this cup with this team, which is possible, because this U.S. men's national team might not be the best, but it's not bad. It's a very good team with some good components. They can attack you many different ways. I think Jamaica as well has shown you that they want it pretty bad. So that's going to be the biggest competition in terms of desire for Mexico is Jamaica. But yeah, I don't think El3 is back. I just think it's obvious that this Gold Cup wasn't top priority for absolutely everybody, and Mexico's taking advantage of it.
Number 14 in the new FIFA rankings, Uruguay at 16, Colombia 17, Peru at 21. The U.S. ranked number 11 in the new rankings for FIFA for the Americas. What is the latest at Soccer Bar and PulsoSports, my friend?
Well, Soccer Bar will be fun today. We're going to be talking about all these Gold Cup games to stride. We're going to have some interviews from the U.S. national team players after the Honduras win. We're going to check into what's really ahead. We're going to break down some of these U.S. men's national team players that could potentially help that A team when it comes down to Copa America and maybe 2026 World Cup. Of course, we're going to break down the week ahead of MLS play, and that's always interesting. And on PulsoSports, we're going to have a really good interview here coming up, hopefully today, if I'm not mistaken, with Freddie Juarez. Just talk to him a little bit and see where the team is at, what changes need to be made. So that's going to be a good one. And, of course, everything that happens throughout the week. Brian Smetzer is already on PulsoSports right now. If you want to go check it out, telling you about some of these injuries, some of the things that are going on. Stephen Fry as well. We had an interesting talk with him. He talked about not making the MLS All-Star game again. And his friend, Tyler Miller, someone who he kind of knows very well here from Seattle, he does make it in a very different system in DC. So that's a good one at PulsoSport as well.
As always, my friend, great to have you on for Thursdays with Niko. And go get your second cup of coffee, and we will catch up with you next week, my friend.
Man, I need it. Next time I'm going to get a bigger one. But, yes, I need this cup of coffee. Appreciate it, man.